What makes a good poem? What even constitutes a poem? Where does one draw the line between poesy and failed experimentation? What are the circumstances needed to construct something avant-garde yet impact the mainstream, changing how poetry will be taught in classrooms? And who is this person who we're talking about specifically? Today we'll hopefully touch upon these questions as we explore the life and works of one of the true great American poets. Hello, and welcome back to the library. Before we get lost amongst the stacks, I want to introduce my friend and guest today, the anomalous individualists themselves, somebody who's just being referred to as...
Claire. Hi, Phil.
Hi, Claire. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for being the person who actually picked this topic. As I stated, I was wanting to do E.E. Cummings, who we're talking about today, with somebody who actually knew some of his work. As most people aren't as familiar with him, even though he's incredibly popular in the mainstream regarding poetry, period. But he's not straightforward to digest, let's say.
Anything but.
Yeah.
Anything.
Do you have anything you want to share about E. Cummings beforehand, or why you wanted to talk about him? Anything that you felt impactful? Anything you want to learn today about his life? Because we're going to go a lot through his life. We'll talk about a few of his works specifically, but this is more of the biography focused about him today.
Sure. I mean, asking the heavy questions right off the bat, I'll just share two memories that come to mind when we talk about E.E. Cummings. One, in high school, I famously can't read. I don't know how to read. Reading is too hard. I'm a genius at math and science, but reading is just... It's for people like Phil. So it's really pretty silly that I'm on this podcast, but we digress. In high school, I took a liking to E.E. Cummings' poetry because reading is so hard, because trying to glean meaning from endless sentences with like multiple clauses and all the punctuation, by the time I finished the sentence, I'm like, how did it even start? Like, I don't know. And the way that E.E. Cummings just chops it all up and punctuates and puts space, and it's such a visual representation of literature. Art, is that literature?
Definitely.
Okay,
100%.
It's a visual representation of it all, which helps me understand pretty much anything in the way that my brain works. So there's that, and I loved a number of his poems. And one of my favorites I read at my grandmother's wake, like just a few years ago, I Carry Your Heart in My Heart. Just a love poem.
Beautiful. Yeah. It's fun that you mentioned that he's got almost a mathematical sense of his poetry, because I don't think there's ever a point of his life that I've figured out if he was a math genius or not. But you're not the first person who actually said that to me. There is definitely a formulaic way of how he writes. After a while, you kind of like go, it's like, oh, this is like a puzzle, and it is like a puzzle.
Yeah, and by the end of a poem, you start to realize, like, oh, what was he doing up at the top? I'm going to read it again.
Yeah.
Then you've read it 4 times, and I'm like, I've never read shit 4 times.
Well, without further ado, in Cambridge, Massachusetts, on October 14th, 1894...
Libra!
There you go. Edward Estlin Cummings was born. His father was Edward Cummings.
Wait, oh my God. I just remembered I actually have another connection to E.E. Cummings.
Yeah?
I worked with his, granddaughter or something, Izzy Cummings. We also went to UVM together. Go Cats, go.
There you go.
Izzy, how you doing?
Hope you're here listening to this.
Miss you. Love you.
Yeah. Wow, that's actually a small world.
Teeny.
Tiny.
Weenie.
Whiny.
She's from Vermont.
There's she. Oh, my God. All right.
We can do this all day. Do you guys care about E.E. Cummings or not?
Yeah, no, we do. So his father was Edward Cummings. His mother was Rebecca Haswell Clark Cummings. The family was known to be...
Wait, he married his sister? They're both Cummings?
No, her last name was Cummings.
Okay.
No, after
close call.
married.
You never know what they were doing back then.
No.
What they're still doing.
Yes.
Around now.
They are still doing cousins and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, just go anywhere where cousin jokes are popular. Yeah. Literally half the country.
I think those places don't like my kind.
No. No. That's a funny thing, because they exist everywhere. The family was known to be a prestigious family in the Unitarian Cambridge community. He was also... Edward Cummings, his father, was also the professor of sociology at Harvard at one point. And yes, sociology has been a profession for hundreds of years. Why
don't we value it yet?
Yeah, right. It's not something that was constructed in the liberal arts degree. So many of my friends who didn't know what majors they wanted to do by their second semester sophomore year, per se, would have to pick because it was the only way they could graduate on time.
I chose my major, political science, thanks for asking, because it was the lowest number of credits required, 30.
Oh, there
30.
you go.
All the rest, art classes.
Oh, wow.
Ask me about college.
Ask you about college. I will. And yes, this was almost me as well, I would say. The only reason why it didn't happen to me is because I decided to take econ courses in my freshman year, only to learn about what the fuck was going on with the world with economics.
What is it? Not the silent hand, the floating hand? What's this phantom limb we talk about in economics?
Yeah, well, that's fake too. But yeah, it was.
Which hand is it? How handsy?
It's too handsy. Well, at the moment,
too handsy for economics. Bunch of virgins.
They're trying to remove all the hands right now and realizing they can't. Yeah. It was kind of like me. I ended up stumbling upon economics because I had to pick something. Period. Because I didn't want to get into more debt. So Professor Edward Cummings switched careers around the time Estlin, which is what the family called EE, around when he was 6 years old. Little EE himself. Which is a great rap name, Lil EE. He had a
Lil EE.
EE. That's a great skeet EE. That's his introduction to every single song. He had a stint,
and then you start reading the poem.
Yeah,
a poem by EE.
Yeah, right. EE Cummings. That's the sound.
I carry your heart in my heart.
He had a stint at the Harvard Divinity School, so his father. And became a minister.
Big love for Jesus Christ, maybe? Or is that just Sorry. I just got scolded about the microphone, everybody.
Remember.
Oh. Uh-oh. Dad's mad.
I'm going to cut this out. But yeah. He went to the Harvard Divinity School and became a minister in 1900 in a Boston church that was known as one of the 7 societies making up the first church in Boston.
Sounds like a cult, but go on.
Yeah, I'm going to touch upon this because
is this the one that was touching the boys?
No, you know what?
Different church in Boston?
No, that was a Catholic church in Boston, and every other church in Boston probably.
Copy.
Yeah. I looked up the 7 societies at one point and didn't add it into the script because it's not conspiratorial at all. Like, I really wanted to see if it was. I know it was a little disappointing.
And I trust that you dug deep. You went into the dark web. You really tried.
I didn't go to the dark web. I
not
don't want to.
Not
this time.
Not
no.
this time.
But every other day.
Sure.
Yeah, casual Tuesdays.
Why else would anyone own a ThinkPad?
I don't own a
What's
ThinkPad.
A ThinkPad?
I know, right?
I'm looking at it. What the fuck is a ThinkPad?
It's like might as well be fucking called a wank pad or something. Yeah. All right.
Dinkpad.
Dinkpad. His church was a South Congregational Church located in Boston's Back Bay near Newbury and Exeter Street.
I've literally been there.
Yeah.
I've literally been there.
Now it's a condominium.
Maybe that's why I've been there.
Usually I would wait a little bit into the script to go on a divergence, and I wrote this because I thought this was going to be 1 minute in. We're already 8 minutes in, so we're having a good gaff.
This is so us.
Yeah, but I think there's a few early points that are important to the life of little Cummings, if you will.
A little bit of Cummings in my life.
The first one is that, God, I hope everyone has a little bit of Cummings in their lives, except for the people who are asexual.
You can tell when they don't.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's the people who are rude.
Yeah. Or the people who choose not to because they're asexual. That's also fine.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah. So
it's the incels we're worried about.
Yeah, the involuntary celibates. Or the voluntary ones, too, are even weirder. Yeah,
but we digress from divinity school.
Yeah, well, I don't know. He was married. I guess that's the difference. They're
that's
not
called
voluntary.
A workaround. That's called a loophole for old Mr. Cummings.
Loophole, poophole, right? Mm-hmm. The poophole loophole.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll get to that.
We're not talking about
you guys
the
have
Catholic
to wait
Church.
till minute 50 to get to the poophole stuff.
Yeah, we're not talking about the Catholic Church here. I have to be very objective about this.
I guess.
So, okay. Because this next sentence, this next paragraph, is going to explain his religion, his religious upbringing.
Okay, I'll eat a sun chip so I can focus.
Yeah. So I think this was important, the fact that he was raised Unitarian until his early adult life. The Unitarian Universalism, a.k.a. the Congregationalists, are probably the most open-minded of the American Christian religions today, at least. I don't know how they were back then. They welcome everybody, including gay and trans people, very openly, and have one of the coolest recent histories regarding the human rights.
Okay, libs.
Yes.
Bunch of libs.
Regarding at least Christianity.
Yeah, I'm loving what I'm hearing so far.
The fact is, the church on Church Street in Burlington, where you referenced earlier,
Church,
that church is a Unitarian Universalist church. Or also the UU.
The UU.
as they're called, Universal Universe. They have 7
EE at the UU.
EE at the UU. They have 7 principles that reflect their values and serve as moral guides, which are 1, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. 2,
Heard of it.
justice, equity, and compassion in human relations.
Minorly important.
3, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations.
Literally not happy with my dad because of number 3.
A free and responsible search for truth and meaning for 4.
Oh.
The right of conscience.
Hello?
Conscience.
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 But of course.
Conscience. Wow.
Wait, start that number over again, because I'm like, am I literally Unitarian Universalist after this conversation? I feel like you're converting me.
Yeah. Again, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large.
Wow.
The goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all.
This is so gay. I love it.
Respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are part of.
Oh my God. Like,
That's
literally,
essential.
I feel like I could cry because I don't know these people, but like, this feels like my family that I've always wanted.
Yeah, well, so I'm just pointing this out, and I'm going to put it again. Think about how, I don't know, say a certain party that is in charge right now.
Oh, the Schmuckublicans party?
Yeah, the blah, 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 blahs
Right.
are quote-unquote Christian, and this is, I think, understandably one of the most Christian set of rules based off the Bible that I've read.
It sounds like something that Jesus would come up with if he was alive.
Today.
Around today.
Yeah,
Even
or
like
1900.
Yeah, even the 50s. Like, we were still doing the world democratic, peace, liberty, justice for all. Like, that was huge in the 60s.
Yeah.
Like, he
Now,
would have loved it.
I didn't go on a rant to promote this church.
Wrong.
I am not
You
a
did.
congregationalist.
Let's break for ads. This podcast sponsored by
the Universal
the Universal Universalists of the universe.
Located on One Church Street.
Can be found at the Church on Church.
Yep.
Back to you, Phil.
So I'm not a congregationalist and have no interest in promoting these guys.
You're doing a really bad job of not promoting them.
Yeah.
You've already converted one. 50% of this podcast has been converted.
As I stated, this is important to know the principles that were instilled in young Edslin's life because he will become an outspoken pacifist at one point, which will get him into a lot of trouble. And
Okay,
then,
fun. I love trouble.
yeah, he's going to
That's
get in
such
a little,
a Libra move.
he's
Just
gonna get
getting
in
a
a little bit of trouble. Yeah.
Like, be so good, be the goodest ever by definition, but then be a little bad.
Well, we'll see why he got bad because it's very important. And then we'll have to talk about his later life and how these principles may have shifted his personal philosophies and politics and his view on people. This is what nerds call foreshadowing. And you haven't heard this yet.
No, because I can't read.
No, well, on this podcast, we've referred to foreshadowing as the sexiest of all literary devices.
Oh, yeah. 4S.
Yeah, for us. Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing.
Foreplay.
Yeah, there you go.
Is foreshadowing
I
the
think-
literary foreplay?
I think my last quote, and this is going to come out right before, the week before, but I think I said the last time that foreshadowing is the foreplay that is just trying to wait for the climax of a good story.
And there lies the Freudian concept of literature.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You have my undivided attention.
Yeah.
You have my Unitarian Universalist undivided attention.
Thank you so much. So the Cummings... Think about foreplay. Yeah, I know. We're going to have to do this once in a while. They live.
You guys would do it too. If you were literally here, you'd literally do that too. So I don't literally want to hear anything from you all.
No, well, but the literary Cummings
Literally.
lived on a street just north of Harvard Yard. Because
Harvard Yard.
Harvard, did you pocket car on Harvard Yard?
Harvard Yard.
Because of his father's connections with the university and the proximity of which they lived to academia, their neighbors were distinguished intellectuals and some of the greatest minds of their generation. For example,
Says who? Literally says who?
says, I guess right now,
Literally who's like, oh, these neighbors, they're so smart. Like, what book did that get written in?
Well, the first neighbor we're talking about is a man named William James, who is known as the father of American psychology and the brother of Henry James, the famous novelist.
Okay, then fine.
And another neighbor was Josiah Royce, who was also
Not Josiah Royce.
Do you know Josiah Royce?
No,
Okay.
I'm just trying to have fun.
Okay, there you go. He was the founder.
I'm lost in the library. Can you blame me?
He was the founder of American idealism, or otherwise known as objective idealism, which, as Wikipedia states, quote,
Yes, my favorite primary source of literally all time.
yeah, it's a great,
Gotten so much trouble in college for using them as a primary source.
I mean, it's honestly only getting more veritable. The more you read of it, the more you go, holy shit, Wikipedia is actually incredible. Thank God for everybody who's working at Wikipedia and donate to them.
Shout out to Wikipedia. Sponsor us if you want to.
I wish they would. Quote from Wikipedia about objective idealism. A philosophical theory that affirms the ideal and spiritual nature of the world and conceives of the idea of which the world is made as the objective and rational form in reality rather than as subjective content of the mind or mental representation. Unquote.
So he's like, you guys, enough with the like lofty God concepts, enough with the I can't see it but I've got to believe it. Let's come up with a theory using only what we like literally know. Yep. That's it?
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah. All of this is to say he was born as highbrow intellectual atmosphere as fucking possible, period. From a very young age, Etzlin showed keen interest in language. His mother would encourage his interests constantly. But by the age of 6, he was already writing poems. Here is an example of one of his very early poems to his father.
I can't wait.
Father dear,
I wish you'd love me.
be your father good and good. He is good now. It is not good to see it rain. Father dear, is it dear, not father dear. Love you, dear Etzlin.
Hello?
Yeah.
What did you just say?
Yeah.
Wait, that's a poem.
You could see already that he already began to break away from traditional metered form by just that. Because I tried to reflect the commas when I...
Like, do we get do-overs? Can I hear it again? I wasn't even anticipating it to be like that.
Father dear, be, comma, your father good and good, comma. He is.
What's that mean? Be your father good and good. What the fuck does that mean?
I don't know. He's a 6-year-old. Why are we dissecting
literally
his poem?
this sounds like a therapy session that we're not supposed to listen to.
He loves his he objectively loves his parents. There's
Okay.
almost no therapy in here. He's literally writing like a love poem.
He's just like in love with his parents, which is totally normal and fine.
Yeah, I mean, if you
I hear it happens all the time.
Yeah, same. I love my parents. My mom listens to this podcast. Hi, Maria.
Oh, hi.
Mama.
Miss Deptula.
Yeah, Miss Deptula.
Is that her name? I don't know.
It's close enough. He is good now, comma. It is not good to see it rain, comma. Father dear is, comma, it, comma, dear, comma, no
This
father
helps.
dear.
Saying
comma,
all the commas really helps.
love, comma, you
This
dear,
is what he
comma,
had in mind, was say all the commas.
Estlin.
XOXO
Yeah,
Estlin. Estlin. E-S-T-L-I-N?
Yeah. E-S-T-L-I-N, yeah.
Estlin.
Estlin. I think that's, I think
that's a very beautiful name and very genderqueer, no?
Yeah, and I mean...
It's like Esther and, I don't know, Edwin.
I mean, Ernest Estlin Cummings. I mean, Estlin, I feel like, is one of those, like, rich fucking highbrow names that
it's
you hear.
It's hoity-toity for sure.
That you only hear about certain...
Edward Estlin Cummings. Was he black? That's a joke.
I know.
It's the whitest name I've ever heard.
I know.
Right after William James.
You could see already he's already breaking from the traditional metered form. He certainly is not the first to do this, like, at all, and he might have been exposed to some of the people that we know that were around at this point or previous who were American true poets, like Walt Whitman. It's certainly not out of the realm of possibility he even met some of these people. He had the type of privileged childhood that will make a great poet, period. And I didn't...
He can write about only pretty things and butterflies.
Well, he definitely doesn't only write about that, and we'll get in a little bit later. You know what? Like, it's kind of like, I didn't want to put this out in here just per se, but like thinking about it, he's like, he was almost like raised to be a poet. The way that what the fuck do the fucking right say about
they say make America great again. Is that what you're thinking of?
No, like when it comes down to like raising people in order for them to like be a specific way.
Be a cog in the wheel?
No. God, about
children are to be seen and not heard.
No, but that's that's a funny.
I'm striking out.
That's a funny line in Arrested Development. Your parents used to do that all the time.
I think my mom used to say that my grandpa would say it to her. I don't know, fucked her up.
Yeah. No, it's fucking. and I'm diverging here and trying to look at it, but like when you raise a kid to be a certain way, and like in order for them to be turned into gay people.
Yes, when you raise your kids gay, of course.
Yeah, no, what the fuck is it
Which
called?
my parents did very consciously. They said, we want an F word in the house.
Yeah.
We want one loud, proud, a little annoying. Maybe this is the foreplay to the climax of the story, and we don't even know it yet.
Yeah, we don't. He just definitely had the type of privileged childhood to make him a great poet. In fact, one source claimed that I wrote that he almost wrote daily from the ages of 8 to 22 one poem, or at least working on poetry.
That's like LeBron James and 1,000 free throws a day of poetry.
It's crazy.
Me with a sports reference, laughable.
Well, you are.
Like what?
You're, I guess, a Lakers fan. Whatever.
I don't know. That's football, right?
Close enough.
That's a joke.
That's very close. When he had to stop for reasons that will be very clear shortly, when he had to stop writing at around the age of 22. He also drew...
I don't know about you. I'm feeling 22. That's Chapel Roan.
Is it? Because I thought that was fucking Taylor Swift.
No, we don't say that name here, Taylor Smith.
Taylor Smith?
We call her Taylor Smith in my community to kind of like bring her down a level.
Well, in my community, I call her Taylor Swift with an F.
Swift?
Because that's a great song by A$AP Rocky, who somehow got away from shooting somebody the other day.
There's also Taylor Swiffer, which is a fun one, but like Swiffers are a fabulous product and deserve 15 Grammys. That's one more than she has.
Yeah, I don't actually know any of this controversy.
She's just annoying is the problem. But she didn't win any Grammys this year, and that really threw me through a loop. I just like loved that. I was like, is America snapping back into reality? Are they over Taylor Swift? Is this an actual recognition of all that she is not worth? 0 Grammys? Like,
who knows?
I think it's beautiful, but we're getting lost in the music library here.
Yeah. All this to say, from a very young age, he was raised an open-minded Christian. Somehow, that's not a paradox. Academically focused and decidedly upper class, like very upper crust as you can possibly get, living literally in Harvard. To prove more onto this point, his father built not one, but 2 summer lake cottages on Silver Lake in Madison, New Hampshire, and then ultimately sold those to purchase the Joy Farm in town, which, if you are buying property with the name in the U.S. a motherfucking A, it's going to be very, very nice piece of land if you fucking name it. Joy Farm is now a National Historic Site for being his summer home. Just a summer home. He studied Latin and Greek. Again,
didn't we all?
Yeah, right, in the upper crust at the Cambridge.
Why not learn the root to literally every word?
I mean,
ever?
That's the thing.
Fuck it,
the reason
right?
why we have
fucking
humanities is because you learn why things are the way they are.
Yeah.
So,
depending on who you ask, that's an important thing to study.
Yep. He studied Latin and Greek at the Cambridge Latin High School. So fucking Cambridge used to have a Latin high school. I don't know if it's still around. And though I am sure...
Wait, yes. Now there's the Boston Latin Academy. That's like even just a charter school in Boston. Like Latin schools existed and still exist. Where like you have to learn that shit.
There you go. I mean, it probably produces a decent...
Fact check me on it, because like I could just be talking out of my ass, but...
I mean, realistically, if you learn Latin and Greek, you probably are going to end up being like one of two things: a famous writer or somebody in the medical field, right? Like you need to know a lot.
That's huge.
It's massive. And though I'm sure this was partially for some merit-based. He enrolled in Harvard very shortly after graduating. I'm sure his connections also helped him too. He graduated with a Bachelor of Arts, and
shout out, so did I.
And was
the art of 30 credits of political science.
I had to do so many more credits than that. Oh my god! And was magna cum laude or cum a lot
Cummings
magna.
Loud.
He cummed liquid hot magma, and was elected to the Phi Beta Kappa Society in 1915.
Phi Beta Kappa. Is that a fraternity or like?
I don't know. I actually have no clue. Like I went to a school intentionally that didn't have fucking frats.
Truly.
Yeah. In 1916, he got his Master's of Arts from Harvard. During his time in Harvard, he would meet and befriend friend of the pod and somebody we've already talked about, John Dos Passos.
Oh my God, him.
Oh, fucking super wet.
A friend of the pod, indeed.
He seemed to have a pretty run-of-the-mill college experience for many writers. He wrote as much as he could when he wasn't actually partying or doing any of that shit, and shared his works with amongst his college friends before he did anything. He also broke through the chains of his religious background and let loose a little bit.
What chains? You sounded like literally chill as fuck.
Yeah, but it's still like religion and Christianity.
Like a silicone chain.
Sure.
Like soft and chill, but like it's a fucking chain.
Yeah.
Sure.
He had his Rumspringa.
What's that?
Is
that a joke?
No, the Amish have Rumspringa. Yeah, you've never heard about them? They are allowed to go for
Sounds like a dog breed
Oh,
or
you grew
a
up
cocktail.
in the West.
You grew up in California. We don't
Yeah.
even have basements.
Yeah, that's true. So Amish and Mennonite people have this tradition, quote unquote, called Rumspringa for coming of age people.
E.E. Cummings of age, heard?
Yeah, E.E. Cummings of age. And E.E. came of age, and then went. Basically, what they could do is whatever the fuck they want outside of the religious context to a certain extent.
Okay, I have heard of this, and it's because of The Office, the
Yeah.
Dwight Schrute thing.
Yeah, so he came and
I'm not a millennial, you are.
Yeah. So quoting from the Harvard Square Library's website, quote, "One night the Boston police were embarrassed to find..."
The police were embarrassed? You're kidding.
They were embarrassed to find E.E. Cummings' father's car with its clergyman's license plates parked outside a joint near Scollay Square.
Sure.
Cummings and Dos Passos, both virgins at the time,
Hell yeah.
were not, quote unquote, upstairs. They were drinking in the parlor while holding a polite conversation with the madam of the house.
What could be gayer than that?
Unquote.
What is gayer than sitting and politely conversing with the house madam?
I don't know.
Ugh.
I was going to say, his,
that led to a threesome. I know it.
Mate,
There's only
not.
one way that ends. The house madam says, "Come here, you two little twinks."
I'm
Get
not going
upstairs."
to. I'm not going to say that I haven't had a similar experience.
Sure. Well, yeah.
Okay.
I could see that for you.
His poems were published alongside 7 other poets in his original publication ever, called the quote 8 Harvard Poets, unquote. In 1970, he was the age of 23.
You say that like it is a big deal? Is that a big
No,
deal?
it's not that big of a
We're
deal.
just
It's
marking time.
We're just marking time.
He's 23. He's out of school maybe, and he's still just the man about literature.
Yeah, and from my understanding, still a virgin, and that's going to be important.
Still a virgin.
Mm-hmm.
Stay with us, people. He has not lost it yet.
Yeah, and then
E.E.
1917.
not yet Cummings.
So you understand what the year 1917. Sorry, you just said E.E. not yet Cummings. So
Not yet Cummings. Wait, so we're in the year 1917?
Yes, we are.
Oh, okay. So we're...
So think about
World War One is over. We're kind of...
Nope. That's a good one. That's where I wanted to hit you on. We're right in smack in the middle of World War
Oh,
I.
we're in it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, yeah. It ends in what, like 21 or something like that ish? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the Roaring
1980,
20s we start
1918.
partying.
1918 it
Okay,
ends.
so we're like we're still in it.
Yeah.
We don't know it's gonna end.
He's working for a book publisher, and you just barely started publishing his own works, right?
Hell yeah, dude. Are you gonna edit the burp?
No. That's right. You know what he does? He signs
He
up.
doesn't have sex.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
He signs up for
Not
the
yet.
American Volunteer Motor Ambulance Corps. This may shock some people if you haven't listened to the Dos Passos episodes yet, to learn that many young intellectuals and wealthy aristocratic youth at this time, many of them specifically coming from Harvard, signed up to volunteer to some of the worst warfare humanity has ever seen at that point, in one of the worst, most horrific war zones ever to exist.
Wow.
but-
Leave it to the like artful, sensitive kids to be like, yeah, we'll go do that.
Mm-hmm.
Were they drafted or no? That was a choice.
No, this was a choice. They
That's
signed up.
cute.
They volunteered.
Yeah, rich kids were like, I gotta do something.
And life was, yeah.
I'm not actually in danger, but I gotta do something.
No, and like it's 100 years ago at this point, more than that, and like
Yeah.
life was a lot different. To prove my point, just to name a few of these who volunteered, who ended up becoming a little bit famous, Cummings and Dos Passos, of course, writers such as Gertrude Stein, Ernest Hemingway,
Heard of him?
Archibald MacLeish, who, if you haven't heard of, I will definitely do an episode sooner rather than later.
We'll get lost in Archibald's business.
Yeah. And
You're weak for an Archibald. I know that.
What a great name.
Literally.
Yeah. And the last I'm going to mention, who isn't as well known nowadays, is William Slater Brown, who was one of Cummings's good friends and somebody he met en route to Europe whilst on the boat.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
This is all so romantic. Like, gone are the fucking days of meeting people on the boat. If I was traveling to Europe and someone befriended me and started talking, I would say, shut the fuck up. I am watching my shows. I am not on this plane to talk to you. Like, and that's the difference between now and then.
Well, you also had like a week on the boat. Remember that.
And I want to spend it the fuck alone, smoking joints, drinking. At that time, I was probably drinking like a fish and like just trying to do me. I was probably like an Ernest Hemingway type if I was in 1917 and going to Europe.
Yeah.
Just like sad and like know too much. And I'm like, this is fucked up.
Yep. Remember those 7 UU principles?
How could I forget? I'm you now.
Yeah. Specifically the one regarding the goal of
Peace, liberty, and justice in the whole entire world.
Wow,
that was number 7. That literally shook me to my core.
Well, E. Cummings at this point in his life is a very avid pacifist.
He's an aggressive pacifist.
Yeah. He did not like war. And the WW
Smart
Uno
man.
of what increasingly seems to be a trilogy at this point, sooner rather than later.
World War III is going to be fought over water, y'all.
Yeah, well, it's probably going to be fought over fucking Mexican cartels, apparently.
That is a gimmick. No way. They've been here before us, and they'll be here after us.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's not going to. I'm not saying we're going to win the war.
Of course.
That's not what it.
I thought in American history we always win the war.
Oh, we're definitely not going to win Ukraine. They're going to end up being their own fucking country again, even if it's 100 years from now.
They should.
Yeah, of course.
They should have that. We got you, Ukraine. You hear us?
Fuck people.
Tune in. We honestly.
Fuck the people who don't fucking believe
we
that.
stand for you, Ukraine.
Okay.
That was layered.
That was layered. That was so deep.
Get us back to basics, Phil. Please, God.
A podcast I like that I listen to is called Lions Led by Donkeys. It's a war history podcast. Don't have to worry about the reference of the name.
We don't have to go listen to that?
No.
Thank God.
But they summarize the WW Uno as this. Quote, inbred cousins beefing over turf.
Hot.
Unquote.
I think that's a search I've done on Pornhub.
No, there you go. I went over anti-war sentiment in the Dos Passos episode, and then how gung-ho Americans were at one point during this war.
They loved war. They really drank the fucking propaganda Kool-Aid. They're like, this is the best.
Yeah, and they still do, even though they don't actually fight. And like, out of those goddamn bastards thinking that like, oh, I bought all these guns to overthrow a tyrannical government. Oh, guess where you're at?
Now I'm going to point them at the same side. Oops.
Yeah, I like this tyrannical government. Not that the fucking president just declared himself king today. Never had this.
No, really?
Yeah, you didn't see that?
I literally don't do the news because I'll probably shoot myself in the head if I were to read all the headlines.
Yeah, he declared himself the king.
Cool.
Yep.
The king of the United States of America?
Yeah, you know, the objectively democratic fucking country.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
As flawed as it is.
God save the queen.
Ooh, Melania?
Listen. What if she... Okay, alternate universe. Okay, so like we're in a monarchy now. Welcome to the United States monarchy. Now, if the king dies, that's Donald Trump, obviously. That means the queen takes the power.
No, it'd be the fucking first.
Ew, one of his little half-bred sons.
Yeah, Don
Ew,
Jr.
The big toe or the little toe? The long middle toe?
Well, it's definitely not the youngest. At least, you know what?
Baron.
Yeah, I'd be fucking frightened if he actually inherited. Don Jr. has a coke habit, and it's hilarious.
Oh,
and
is Don Jr. the one who's like pale with the like light hair?
Dude, he's
hard to look at.
There's a pretty great video of Don Jr. literally fucking rubbing cocaine on his gums and teeth while SpaceX was failing. Have you? I should send this to you because
this is special family. Our royal family, they're special.
Because Biden's son was made fun of for sending dick pics and fucking like they wanted to. Yeah. They literally wanted to kill the man for treason because he like brought coke into the White House.
Yep.
So like let's just say
Wait, you're saying Republicans have double standards?
Yeah, let's just say double standards didn't exist.
Phil, I thought we were talking about E. Cummings. You're not supposed to blow my mind with that stuff.
Oh my God. All right, so inbred bastards beefing over turf.
Copy, yeah.
I went over all that shit that happened. This was a pretty strong pro-war sentiment at one point, even though they didn't want to actually go into the war. Once they went into the war,
they're like, wait, this is fucking fun.
Yeah, Americans started literally the fabric of American society changed from being this country that was very happy to have a lot of German influence into it because Germany.
Yeah, we love German.
At one
Used
point,
to.
yeah, beforehand, and then World War I was when we started switching from it.
Right, it got a little sketchy.
Yeah, and I'm glad at least we switched before the Nazis took in because who the fuck knew what would happen.
I know,
there.
but hey, like 80 years later, never too late to join the Nazi party, I guess.
Yeah, the argument of not joining the war versus joining the war will be debated by historians for the rest of all existence. So I'll let those people do it.
Yeah, we'll move on.
Yeah. What isn't debated is what happened to E and his buddy Billy S. Brown whilst participating in the ambulance corps. Due to some mishap in paperwork, they had a whole 5 weeks off to experience Paris before they actually had to do anything, which is dope.
To experience what?
Paris.
Oh, Paris. I've heard of that place.
Yeah.
Paris, Texas,
yeah,
right?
I was going to say it's in Texas or Illinois. During their time at the front, I have read sources that it was mostly uneventful, at least on the ambulance front stage when they were doing the ambulance chorus. Cummings, however, lived up to his name. And there we have it.
And he finally had sex?
We are so many minutes into the podcast, and I finally made a joke that I wrote out about Cummings.
Yay!
Yeah. He fell in love with Marie Louise
Antoinette?
Lalemont.
Lalemont. Marie Lemon.
Close enough, I guess. And Billy S. Brown fell in love with her friend, who is simply known in history as Mimi.
Mimi. Didn't even get a last name. She's that iconic.
Well, Mimi and Marie were sex workers.
Oh.
Now, from the source,
we also support sex workers here. Just letting you know, we're good with Ukraine, good with sex workers.
Sex work is honest work. Now, from the source,
sex work is honest. Just ask E. Cummings.
Just ask E. Cummings. From the source I found regarding their relationship, Lil E. Which I'm still referring to as the guy who would probably be the most famous mid-2000s rapper of all time, never fully consummated his love.
What do you mean? He just let it soak?
Cummings didn't finish because he was afraid of venereal disease.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I feel like if anything, if you were to be having sex for that long and
he was probably not.
If you guys
having
haven't,
that was the thing. I was making jokes about it. He probably actually.
He's still not fucking?
Yeah, he probably didn't.
What were they doing? Just necking?
I'll tell you. Yeah, specifically, he was afraid of syphilis, which was a death sentence back in the day.
Sure.
When penicillin wasn't discovered until 1943.
Thank you, Mary Curie? Question mark.
They had other cures at the time, but it wasn't as effective.
Syphilis was a thing to be feared.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you would.
Sure.
It's the 7-year itch.
I mean,
right?
we saw what happened to Napoleon. Not great.
Napoleon, who?
Napoleon Bonaparte.
He didn't die of syphilis at all.
Yeah, he did.
No, he died of stomach cancer.
Well,
possibly.
A different podcast.
Yeah, I think you're talking about Al Capone. He died of syphilis.
Definitely not. I still don't know who that guy is. Gangster,
yeah,
mafia,
Chicago. It's
something. Right. John Gotti. I don't know.
We're not going to get into the role of syphilis into people's brains until I one of these days. One of the writers I'm actually going to talk about died of syphilis. I'm sure that'll happen.
And again, different podcast.
Yeah. However, Billy B and Lil E would pay for these sex workers' times and take them onto dinners, picnics, out to the park.
Picnics? Oh, yeah. Sorry, can't come over. I'm actually going on a picnic with my sex worker.
Mm-hmm. My lady of the evening.
Am I E. Cummings? I would do something like that.
I mean,
something
it's
a little over the top and romantic. He's a Libra.
It's just such a very I didn't get laid before kind of romance that I
literally and now he's in love with her.
Yeah.
He's gonna U-Haul soon.
And they're having their time of their lives. Good for Mimi Marie.
Right. It's wartime. They're having fun.
Yeah, they're having a great time.
Yeah.
This is important as Brown had written home about the spread of syphilis among American and French troops and how the French morale was lowering every single day, diminishing, and how English and American soldiers contriving to kill their officers in friendly fire accidents were increasing.
Why? Because syphilis gives you worms in your brain?
The two also did not like their oafish sergeant, as a direct quote, who was their immediate commander. They would try to be sneaky in their messages and letters, but these were early 20s, and they were men who weren't very bright or as bright as they thought. They were both arrested.
Typical man.
Yeah.
They were both arrested.
They were both arrested.
For shit talking their oafish sergeant.
And talking about
They're
syphilis.
such petty little bitches.
Yeah, the people who arrested them? Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah.
I'm inspired. I
Well,
remain.
It's a very common thing throughout history to arrest people for suppress the message that's going home in war. Period.
Really?
Yeah,
Again,
it's
different podcast.
Very, very common. This comes from a quote from Grand Valley State University's website. Quote, when Cummings was interrogated, he chose to stick by his friend when asked, "Est-ce que vous détons les bouches?" Fuck, man, I'm going to butcher this.
Oui, oui, Pepe Le Pew.
Yeah, which I guess stands for, do you hate the Germans? Cummings responded, "Non, j'aime beaucoup les Français," which means,
I hate the French?
no, I like the French very much. For this response, Cummings was packed off to a detention camp in southern Normandy called Le Ferté-Mancé.
Meaning what?
I don't know. It's just a fucking place. I have no clue.
The fart machine.
The fart machine. It's a fart machine camp.
Because that's what I heard.
Le Ferté-Mancé. Oh, that's great. That's just going to be some sounds I'm going to be making as well as Cummings, now known as the fart machine. Cummings had been in... I can't do this right now. I need to take a second.
Pause for edit break.
Because every time I think of his name, I think of men making terrible faces and looking at horrible
coming
ways
and farting
at the
pissing
same time.
and shitting. And,
That's because every time a man comes, they do all four of those things.
Not that I would know.
Cummings had been in Paris for 5 weeks at the front, for 3 months and a week at the front, and was interned
at the front, like the front lines?
At the front line, picking up people, which was uneventful, as I said.
Oh.
And then was interned at Le Fart Machine for another 3 months.
Oui, oui.
Mm-hmm. So E.E. did come out of French military prison, of course he did, but only after Daddy intervened. Apparently, after finding out his son...
What is a white man who goes to Harvard without his daddy?
Jeez. Holy shit. I'm reading about somebody else entirely right now, and the amount of times that man was bailed by his Harvard daddy was disgusting and despicable.
Oh, maybe he's part of the royal family.
Oh, yeah. No, they're anti-intellectual. The royal,
right,
the
but big proponents of family bailouts.
Yeah, they are, though. Yeah. His dad found out about his son's imprisonment, right? Reverend Professor Cummings wrote a bunch of angry letters. To
who? Just into the void, early social media. He's like, I'm so fucking pissed, but my therapist said don't send this.
Yeah, seriously, he probably would have been like that if somebody
crumple him up and throw him out your window.
Yeah, it got enough traction that his son was released in December of 1917, was sent back to the United States.
Hallelujah.
On July 1918, sometime around there, E. Cummings was drafted to the U.S. Army and spent 6 months at a training camp in Massachusetts.
For fuck's sake. Let this little writer write. Don't give him any more guns. Let him write so that he can learn to have sex.
Well, you know what? It's July 1918, right?
Crazy year.
It's 1918 is when the war ended.
Yeah.
The war ended literally on November 11th at 11/11 in 2018. They did this intentionally.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and you want to know the most fucked up part about this? This is completely off script.
What if I was like, no?
Yeah, well,
Please go back to your script.
Specifically the Germans, but also everybody did major offenses right before. They knew that the war was going to end on 11/11.
So they got in some extra bombing.
They just sent fucking thousands, if not tens, if not hundreds of thousands of men killed because they just went, fuck you, I'm going to send these men out to fucking kill until the last minute. And then they stopped.
That sounds American. It also sounds...
It was mostly the Germans, but also the French were participating.
It basically
Americans, British.
It
was
sounds
fucking
incredibly
nuts.
Western to be like, oh, the dead horse is beaten?
Yeah.
But did we kill it?
Yeah. It's not in the book per se, but All Quiet on the Western Front's new new movie adaptation did an excellent job portraying what happened.
Adding to watch list.
It's wonderfully depressing.
I love historical fiction. I'm already depressed. I can see sad stuff.
Yeah. It's fucked up. World War I, I don't know, is has such a fucked up history. So by the time by the time December came around, that 6-month stretch, the war was over. He was discharged, right?
So he just went and like got hot at training camp.
Yeah, I guess, or it fit in shape, right?
Okay.
He didn't have to pay the tens of or hundreds of thousands of dollars
To go to Barry's boot camp.
Yeah, right, exactly. When he was he was in Massachusetts, when he came back, he began to have a relationship with a woman called Elaine Thayer. It is unclear when this relationship started. What is clear?
Aren't they all? It's always a little vague at the beginning.
Well, what was clear?
Will they? Won't they?
Yeah, well, they were. She was.
Well, they were.
Yeah.
They were, and they did.
She was having an affair.
Oh, God.
Mm-hmm. Elaine was married.
Elaine.
Before we continue, I will state that around this time of the affair, he started to write a lot of erotic poems.
That's my dude. She totally took his virginity. Syphilis is gone. Do we have penicillin yet?
He didn't have syphilis ever.
He was just scared of getting it.
Yeah, that's why he didn't have sex with that sex worker.
But
Murray.
so, like, now is it okay? He can, like, fuck this girl, Elaine, without getting
Well, yeah,
syphilis?
if you've never had sex with anybody, yeah. You're
right.
Yeah.
Clean.
Yeah, exactly.
Pure.
Just because you touch somebody with syphilis doesn't mean you get it.
Well, I don't know how diseases work.
Oh, well, okay. I guess that's the problem with America these days, huh?
Right. I'm microchipped. I'm not going to get any disease.
Thank God for that. Same. Elaine was married to
Good thing I did the Lysol enema.
Oh, God. It's better than a coffee enema. We saw it the other day.
5 a day keeps the doctor away.
5 a day definitely keeps the proctologist away. She was married to a man named Schofield Thayer. His first name is Schofield or Schofield.
Schofield. I don't trust it.
I don't either. It's Schofield. I don't know.
He's going to steal your money.
Schofield. I mean,
he's going to fucking kill your wife.
He was a friend.
And he's going to fuck your girlfriend.
Schofield and EE were friends in Harvard.
Even worse, he cucked him.
Mm-hmm. Thayer came from a very wealthy family, and he was very wealthy.
There, and Thayer.
Yeah.
That's literature, folks.
Yeah, all his life, he was incredibly wealthy, and this needs to have more of an explanation later on, because I think I need to talk about Thayer at one point individually. But he was also a benefactor and a publisher of literature due to his wealth. For his wedding present to his wife, he commissioned his friend Cummings to write a poem, Epithalamium. Damn, this is a really hard word.
Obviously, we speak French here.
I think this is Greek and bastardized with Latin.
We speak all of that, too.
Yep.
This is just a one-off that we can't get this one.
Yeah, no, this is a long-ass poem, and it's far from exemplary from E's actual works, but this is more exemplary of his early works in contrast to the rest of his writing style, because when he was in Harvard, he was writing these his first poems. You'll see in his completed works, a lot of them were these long, archaically worded, like very almost difficult in the way that like they're kind of worded in the sense that like you wouldn't read this in the 20th century, you'd read this in the fucking 18th, 17th century.
Obsolete,
yeah.
ancient.
Here's just for good fun, the first verses of a poem that he ended up cucking his best friend from.
Hot.
Though aged reluctant earth who dust, with quivering continual thighs invite the thrilling rain and the splendor paramour to toy with thy extraordinary lust.
Paramore is such an iconic band.
I'm in the business of Manarino, talking from the top. Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
That one.
That's what he was writing about, crazy.
That was the first 4 lines of the poem he wrote for his friend's wife that he ended up having sex with.
Yeah, if my friend wrote that poem for my wife, I would also fuck that guy's wife. Did that make sense?
Yes, I guess so. 1 second.
I would cuck the man that talked about my wife's quivering thighs. That's the sentiment. Mm-hmm. That's the promise. That's the threat. That's the hope.
Yeah. So we're at 50 minutes in. We have to stop because I have to go get food. It's 7:35. Our food's being picked up in 10 minutes.
We're getting barbecue tonight, you guys.
Yeah. So
you guys made us feel meaty.
Maybe this is going to be part 2.
Maybe.
Or there's going to be one. It's actually pretty long already. All right. Thanks, Claire. Talk to you in a second.
Love you more than life.
Love you too. Well, this one kind of got away with us. It was having too much fun. So, doing the sources for part one, the Poetry Foundation website, E. E. Cummings' articles there. Lowercase Nest by Claire Luchette on the poetry website as well. Poets.org, E. E. Cummings, the biography.com, E. E. Cummings website. Harvard Square Library biographies, E. E. Cummings. A Rhinoceros Tells Tales to a Soldier, the childhood imagings of E. Cummings from the Massachusetts Historical Society. Did anybody ever tell you I was your father? The Guardian article. An American Poet Shaped by the Futility and Status of War by David Bromwich. That's a New York Times article. The Prince of Patchen Place by Susan Cheever on Vanity Fair. Edward Cummings, A Life and Its Sermons in Poetic Song. That's on the First Church of Boston.org. The UUA.org website about their 7 principles. Grand Valley State University, and a couple of the Wikipedia articles that had his poems on it. I carry your heart with me. I carried it in my heart. I am never without it. Anywhere I go, you go, my dear. And whatever is done by only me is your doing, my darling. I fear no fate, for you are my fate, my sweet. I want no world, for beautiful you are, my world, my true. And it's you, or whatever a moon has always meant, and whatever a sun will always sing is you. Here is the deepest secret nobody knows. Here's the root of the root, and the bud of the bud, and the sky of a tree called life, which grows higher than soul can hope or mind can hide. And this is the wonder that's keeping the stars apart. I carry your heart. I carried it in my heart.